What's good? Osiris here, stuck in the middle. The protests outside of the justices' homes, and some of them I know have been reported that they're not there, which I don't blame them, like Alito. But that's not relevant to the discussion here. The protests are still going on, and now we're in a dilemma in the country where if lines are crossed one way, then you must assume that they will be crossed the other way. And this is a good example of me and why I can't really rock with the populist left like I would like to fully. It's not just race, it's hypocrisy. Let's start with Marsha Blackburn. Here's what she said about the protesters outside justices' houses. She said they should all be arrested.
And they should haul all of these people down to the police headquarters. They should book them for violating a federal statute. What they're trying to do is change the outcome of a Supreme Court decision, and they're doing it by showing force and intimidation. And think about the disruptive nature of this. All of your viewers, think about if somebody came to your neighbor's house and started protesting and blocked the street to your neighborhood. Your children couldn't go outside. They couldn't ride a bicycle. They couldn't go play. You can't get in and out of your house without a police being there, a policeman officer being there to assist you. And they should haul all of these people
So
down.
that's what Marsha Blackburn said. And whether you agree or disagree, her stance is fair. She just said, imagine if this was happening outside your home. And it's not just anyone's home. It's justices who have a ruling pending. This is to influence them. So let's see what the populist left says. That's Marianne Williamson. I'm labeling her that. I don't know what she would label herself. She says peaceful protest is not force and intimidation. They're exercising a constitutional right. Your First Amendment right, Marianne, ends. So if you support the protests, go ahead and support the protests. But don't lie to people about what the Constitution is, or you might be too ignorant to understand. So you can support the protests, but understand you are supporting them breaking the law, which is perfectly fine. Don't say they're exercising the constitutional right. The First Amendment ends when you infringe on someone else's rights. And that's what they're doing right now. This is intimidation. It doesn't have to be violent to be force and intimidation, Marianne. Why are they protesting if they're not trying to force and intimidate? What's the point of the protest then, Marianne? Why are they there? Just if you agree with it, just be honest. Don't be stupid, though. You are too prominent of a figure. So either you're being disingenuous or you're being just stupid. One or the other. That's not how you defend it. So then I have a simple question for her. Obviously, they're not exercising the constitutional right because it is against federal law to do what they're doing. It doesn't have to be violent. It should be peaceful. That's a given. We're not arguing over whether it's peaceful or not. Obviously, that's not a given to her. That's why she said peaceful protest. So I said the issue isn't whether it's peaceful or not, Marianne. It's number one, it's illegal. It's not legal. Number two, it's clearly an attempt to intimidate the judicial branch, which was supported by the executive branch. Jen Psaki literally said the president supports these protests. I wasn't even planning on going on that. I should have thought through this when I was doing it. I want to bring that up. I want to bring that up before I get to the ending here. This is serious stuff. It was a jaw-dropping moment for me. This is what I tweeted yesterday. So we're seeing the executive branch threaten the judicial branch. Here's what Jen Psaki said to back up why I'm saying this. Remember, Jen Psaki she speaks for the president. So if there's an issue like this where she is, in my opinion, crossing a huge line, so that's the president crossing a huge line, they have to go direct to the president and say, your press secretary said this. Do you agree with that or not, sir? This is a huge matter. Let me show you what Jen Psaki said.
So I know that there's an outrage right now, I guess, about protests that have been peaceful to date, and we certainly continue to encourage that outside of judges' homes, and that's the president's position.
It doesn't matter if they're peaceful. That's why they keep bringing up the peaceful. They're like, oh, no, it's just peaceful. It's still illegal. And listen to it again. She said, yes, we support it. She said it with outside the justices' homes. So she is supporting something that is illegal federally. So what they're saying is, I know it's illegal, but the legislative branch isn't holding us accountable. So the judicial branch would have to be law enforcement. So they would have to be arrested and go through the judicial branch. So what they're doing is taunting the governors. And in this case, we're talking about Youngkin. And people are saying, Youngkin, you got to start arresting these people because it's illegal. And I'm not a fan of Youngkin. I understand that he was a necessary evil. So I'm not necessarily against, voting for him in Virginia. He's better off than Terry McCullough. But he's in a tough spot. So people are saying, hey, you got to start arresting them. But what happens when you start arresting them? That escalates things. So you might have a point. Maybe you should start doing it. I think Terry McCullough is making the right decision because he doesn't want to escalate things. You can't, it's a lot of people. Are you going to arrest everyone? Are you going to start that? How does it look in the press? So I understand the argument. I really have to think that through on what I think right now. Terry. I think right now Glenn Youngkin's making the right decision. He's saying, "What's up? If it gets violent, that's a wrap. It has to be assumed to be peaceful." So I think I think Glenn is making the right decision to say no. I'm monitoring it right now. I'm not putting words. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but. I don't think he wants to escalate it. It's not him being soft. So, but that's what the executive branch is saying. You're in a tough position. I know you don't want to arrest them, so we're going to condone an illegal act. There is no consequence for that. If you don't arrest the protesters, and the legislative branch, that's the point I want to get to, that the president, remember, Jen Psaki speaks for the president. The president is promoting an illegal action. And what is the context of this illegal action? This illegal action is to put pressure on the judicial branch. So all these branches of government really fight each other internally. The executive branch wants more power than the judicial. The legislative should. But in these days where the parties align in the majority, it doesn't work like that. But in theory, the legislative branch, and that's why the whole thing's falling apart, the legislative branch should be checking the executive branch. And if Republicans had the House, at least they would try to be checking the president on this. But since Biden is saying, I've got the legislative branch in my pocket, so I don't even have to worry about them. And so I can condone illegal acts. What's going to happen to me? The judicial branch can't do anything because the governor doesn't want to escalate and arrest anybody. So they're allowing people to break the law to put pressure on the judicial branch. Why? It has nothing to do with your bodily autonomy. If you think that, you are a buffoon. It has nothing to do with you controlling your body. The government would love to control your body. What it's about is the judicial branch has an opinion that was leaked before they gave it that took power away from the federal government. So the federal government's like, yeah. All y'all go over there to pressure the judicial branch so they can give us power back. That's what it's about. And this by itself is an impeachable act. But the Congress is the same party, and we play these party games where no one on the same party, Republicans, same. Same thing with Republicans, probably. We'll see how it works with MAGA getting a little bit more influence, but they wouldn't, Democrats wouldn't impeach a Democrat president, which that's not how it's supposed to work. even if it's a Democrat House, Senate, they're supposed to say, whoa, President, that's out of line. Obviously, we're beyond that point, and that's why this whole system's falling apart. It's the party system. So to go back, to end on the tweet here, I want Marianne Williamson to answer the question. So what Marianne Williamson is supporting is not legal, and it's an attempt to intimidate the judicial branch. So that means we can attempt to intimidate the executive branch, just like they did when they chased Trump into the bunker. They literally did that, the left. So we can intimidate the executive, and this is at the federal or state level or local level. You can intimidate the executive branch. You can intimidate the legislative branch. If you can intimidate the judicial branch, you can intimidate any branches, just like J6, as long as you're peaceful. The ones who weren't peaceful, obviously, we're only talking about peaceful. So are you okay with this, anyone who agrees with Marianne Williamson? Are you okay with these things in general, or only when it comes from the left? And you see why the country's falling apart, because people aren't being consistent. Let me know what you think. Take care.